Commissioner Dave Nelson, and it looks like our first case will be guardianship of Jalen Sloan. Following the hearing a week or so ago, I asked for this hearing to discuss expanded visitation. My initial thought was, could we consider overnights? I received a declaration of Ty Lutwig, which I've read, expressing some concerns about that and making an alternate proposal. So I guess I'd like to go around and hear from everybody on that issue. Why don't we start with Mr. Anagnostou, and then I'll go to Mr. Ludwig, and then after that I'll go to Ms. Winkles, and then if either Mr. Ludwig or Kelly Crape wish to respond, and then finally I'll go to Ms. Farr and hear everybody's views on that. So, Mr. Anagnostou, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. We notified council of the overnight weekends that we want, and that would be not this weekend, but next weekend for an overnight, and then Father's Day weekend in June before we come back to court. And we got a response back, basically ignoring the request, and then we get this declaration on Monday, which is basically a motion to reconsider. In the interim, my client has completed a parenting class. We emailed that to you today. He got the certificate to me late yesterday, and we got it to you, Your Honor, this morning. So I've read Mr. Ludwig's declaration, and basically what he's saying is, if you're a working parent, you don't get custody of your child. That's what he's saying. That's just obscene in these cases. He works. He and Kelly Crape, they worked long hours every day, and Jalen is in daycare. So my client works during the week, and Jalen will be in daycare with my client's grandmother. And then when he gets off work, he will be with Jalen. But none of that matters for your determination right now, because right now what we're trying to do is get overnights going. You indicated that one of the visits each month could be overnights. We've notified them of the dates that we want, and we get this declaration in response saying working fathers don't get custody of their children. It's wrong. It goes against your decision. It's a motion to reconsider. It's the same arguments that we've been hearing that my client can't parent his child. Well, he hasn't been given the opportunity. He needs to have overnights with his daughter. He needs custody returned to his daughter. He's going to get custody of his daughter, and we need to get this process moving. And they don't want it moving. And this is just another example of them stalling and delaying and doing everything they can to prevent the inevitable, which is my guy's a good father, and he needs custody of his daughter. So we would ask Your Honor to acknowledge or support or make certain your ruling from the trial at the end of trial that my client gets one overnight a week. We've notified him of which overnights during the week, one overnight during his weekends. We've notified them of the weekends that he wants overnights, one this month, one next month per your ruling. And then he's supposed to have one visit where it's just him alone. He's going to do that. He's going to get that set up. And then he has the other regular visits that you've already ordered. I'm not sure why we're arguing over this yet again, other than they don't want the inevitable to happen, which is moving forward with Jalen being returned to my client.
Counsel, I don't think I ordered overnight visits. I wanted this hearing in order to consider them. And so I think I want to clear that up. I was thinking out loud as to when they could be, but I don't think I entered that order. Let me ask you, if I do order overnight visits, where would your client go with Jalen for the overnight?
My understanding was what you were considering is that they would occur locally here. And I assume, and I think my client has had a conversation with the petitioners, that they would not be object to him taking Jalen to Portland, to the zoo, or to some play centers or whatever in Portland. So there's no restriction that he has to stay in the state of Washington, but maybe not more than 100 miles from Longview.
Thank you. Ms. Winkles?
Yes, Your Honor. My clients have no intention of keeping this child from the father. What they want is a phased-in approach. This is a man that's essentially never been alone with this child. At every single visitation, he's had a third party present there, essentially performing the parenting functions. This is a man who couldn't be honest with where he lived, who works next to Michelle Harrington, which is hours away from where grandma lives, yet states that he lives at grandma's house, which makes no sense of how he could arrive at work. We have that issue. We also have the issue of the fact that he's been not forthcoming about the fact that he lives with a registered sex offender who was convicted of minor under the age of 12. These are huge issues. But on top of all that, we have somebody who has never parented a child alone. And so now what we're asking him to do is to essentially have a supervisor there. That was part of what Your Honor was thinking out loud. That's not the intention of these visits. The intention of these visits is to form a bond with the child. If he's working all day and then he gets this very, very young child, the child's going to inevitably go to sleep early. That's not going to be bonding time. So really, who's going to be doing the parenting functions? If we go to grandma's house, it's going to be grandma. Grandma's going to do it while he's at work and grandma's going to do it at night. This is not what the court had in mind. What my clients think is more appropriate would be to extend the visitation by 2 hours and then move up to 3 and move up to 5 and keep moving up. And in that expanded visitation, that the father has to be alone. That way we have a safety protocol in place. The child it's a daytime visit. If there's an issue, he can return the child early, which he's done on a number of occasions. He has continually returned this child early or not shown up. But in any event, there's a safety protocol in place, and that's the guardian. We give him that expanded visitation so that he can kind of try out being the primary parent, the only parent in charge of this child. Then eventually go to overnights once we have that. But right now, what we're essentially saying is you can have the child for your normal daytime visitation, but we're also going to give you the child at night. But there has to be somebody there. So there's somebody essentially performing these parenting functions still, because you're not going to be on your own. You're not going to be showing the court anything. And I understand father has a certificate for a 4-hour online parenting course, which is great. It's a step, but it doesn't mean that you've actually taken an in-person parenting class. It doesn't mean it's a 12-week class like Children in Between or anything of that nature. It's a 4-hour parenting class through what appears to be some offset of the University of Florida. This child needs to be protected since dad has yet to show that. The child comes home wet in clothing. The child was never changed. We've heard testimony about all that in the beginning part of the trial. We've seen declarations from people stating that dad's own dad can't take care of himself and has to have these third parties there. That's not the bonding time that this is supposed to be, to have somebody else taking care of the child. While my client says that Michelle Harrington, they're fine with her, that doesn't mean that delegating that parental function to her. These parties aren't married. Mr. Ludwig and Ms. Harrington aren't married. They're not in a CIR. They're not in anything of that nature. So to just delegate to another third party is essentially just moving the minor guardianship to somebody else. And that doesn't make sense. What makes sense is a phased in approach where the child is with dad longer, and we'll try it. And if dad does a great job, great. Then we move on to overnights. But let's make sure this child is protected in the interim, in the short period of time. And again, I just want to stress the fact that dad did not disclose that he was living with a registered sex offender and has not fully disclosed where he actually lives in comparison to where he works every day shows that this is not somebody we can take on the honor system of, you will not take this child to that house. That honor system right there is broken. And additionally, the fact is that he first told the GAL that he was going to live there with the child. That is not in the child's best interest, obviously, to live with a sexual offender, a child under 12. We need somebody that makes good decisions for the child, which is why the emergency guardianship is in place right now. This is not hopefully forever, but it needs to be phased in, and going directly to overnights when dad has never been alone with a child. It is scary. It's problematic. The safety mechanisms aren't in place. And if they are in place, it means really that a third party is parenting this child. So my clients would ask that we don't go immediately to overnights. We do 2 hours, extend that even more. We could do 4 hours, extend that, but dad has to parent the child alone during that extended visitation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Winkles. I'm actually going to change the way we're going to go here. I'm going to go to Ms. Farr next, and then I'll give Mr. Ludwig and Ms. Craig the chance to speak if they want to. Ms. Farr.
Good morning, Your Honor. So one of the problems for me, and I brought it up at the last hearing, is that I have had no communication with father. I did say at the last hearing that going forward, I needed more cooperation. I still haven't heard from him. I haven't heard from him since mid-January. I sent him an email in April asking him to give me some updates. He hasn't responded. He hasn't called me. I have no way to know what improvements he made, what changes he's made, where we're going without him communicating with me. I did receive the certificate of parenting class this morning, which is great. I'm glad that he completed that class. It would have been better had he reached out to me to let me know that he was doing that, so we could have discussed what he learned. There's no way for me to make recommendations to go forward and expand the current visitation schedule without communication and follow-up from father.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ludwig, anything you'd like to contribute?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll let you go ahead. And we'll
Sorry.
go ahead,
Right.
Mr. Jaden Ludwig.
Okay, Your Honor. The reasons why I bring a third party isn't to take care of my kid. I take care of my kid up there. I do all the work. The reason why I only have a third party is because I do not feel safe around Kai. I do not feel safe around Kelly. Kai used to physically abuse me. He used to pick me up, choke me, throw me against the wall. I don't
Your
trust
Honor,
him.
I'm going to object.
You
It's
know-
not properly before the court, and
Actually,
there's no declarations about this.
actually-
It's essentially testimony that
All
has
right,
no relevance.
We're having arguments, so I'm going to overrule. Go ahead, Mr. Ludwig.
I sent that information in. It should be
You don't have to explain what the information is. Just go forward.
okay. I just don't feel safe around him.
Okay.
Kelly's manipulative. I lived with them for most of my childhood. I know how they act toward how they felt and how they treated me. So I just don't feel safe around them. That's the only reason why I bring a third there. That is it. Not to take care of my kid, not to parent my kid, not to do any of that, just for my safety. Because Kelly abused me, hit me, scratched me, kicked me for the last court case that I had dealt with her. So I just personally do not feel safe. That is the only reason.
Is there any reason why you're not in touch with Ms. Farr, the guardian?
I've been working. I work from 7 a.m. to 3:30. Some days I get off at 2:30, but majority of it is 3:30. And I come home, I take a shower because I sweat. I work outside. I work with tires. I'm filthy. If I don't clean myself, then I should be, dirtier than this. I worked yesterday. I took a shower, got cleaned up. It was hot. It was about 85 degrees here, so I was sweating. So cleaned off. I take care of myself, and I take care of Jalen. I think I should have overnight visits, is because right now I only have 5 hours from 1 to 5 right now, and then on Sundays I get 11 to 5, and I feel like if I have overnight visits and for having overnight visits, it's for me it feels better to it gives me a chance to bathe Jalen, to feed Jalen dinner, to provide for her, and everything else. Like as a parent, as a father should.
Where would you do the overnight visits?
I would do the overnight visits in Washington, Longview, Washington, over at the Red Lion Motel. That way, it has a shower. She has a bed. She will have clothing. She's a warm place to stay. She'll be right beside 2 beds. Boom, boom. So she'll be right there. She'll be supervised by me as a father, as one father should. And I just feel like if you guys give me the opportunity to share your part, if you'd like to come on that overnight visit over for a day over that overnight, one of those on that overnight visit and see what I'm doing, then that will be fine. It's just I haven't been able to contact her.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Kai Ludwig, do you want to add anything?
I got some concerns on the overnight visit. I think things so far have been going well enough. But I think that baby steps need to be involved. on this. And that's pretty much all I got to say on that. Is
All right, thank
I
you.
think we're ready.
Ms. Craig,
Yes. Can you hear me all right, Your Honor?
I can, yes.
Okay. So a couple things I want to bring to the attention. I have never in my life abused a child. I actually work in early childhood education as a director to multiple centers. I have a associate's in early childhood education. I have never been accused of abuse. And if Jaden felt this way and is scared of me because of the way we've treated him in the past years that he says, why would he leave his child in my care in the first place? That just would show lack in judgment on his part. Second, I have been very, very, very understanding about letting Jaden make up visits. He missed a visit because his car broke down this weekend. I offered to let him make it up next weekend. Not a problem. If he wants her for longer hours, I've offered that. He has not taken me up on that. And then two court sessions ago, we brought up the fact that Jalen was not getting naps, and you said that he had to be sensitive to it. She's still not getting naps. The only time she's napping is when she's exhausted in his car ride on the way home from whatever event they've been at. He has not successfully even been able to nap her during the day yet. So these are my concerns, that he's still not. It's easy to come and take a 3-year-old to the park and to the bounce house and to go swimming and be this fun, happy thing. But it's a whole nother story when you have to start actually parenting that child.
Mr. Jaden Ludwig, we've heard from you, so I think we need to move on from that. Mr. Anagnosta, though, I'll let you have the final word.
The final word is that, we need to move this along. My client has an appropriate plan, and we're talking about weekends up here, not where she's going to be living in the future. If you want me to go over that yet again, Your Honor, we'll tell you yet again that he's going to relocate back to his grandmother's house with Jalen in Toledo, Oregon. He'll commute to work or he'll find other employment, but Jalen is in daycare currently. And I don't understand why she can't be in daycare with his grandmother when he has custody, but that's all for a later date. Right now, we're talking about moving this case along. We think getting overnights is crucial to show that to continue the relationship with my client and his daughter. And it's within all of the bounds that the court's going to set. It's up here. And he'll be doing the care of Jalen, and they can complain about her coming back in wet clothes or not, or whatever. That's all past issues that we dispute. But we need to move this forward. We need to move it forward. He needs to get overnights up here. One of his weekends would be overnights. We're asking for not this weekend, but the next weekend, and then Father's Day weekend. And then we understand your suggestion. And if you want to make it an order that one of the weekends he's got to come up here by himself, he will do that. He is very uncomfortable doing that. But for a day visit, he'll come up and try to get an exchange without some kind of dispute erupting between him and the Leadwood seniors, who they don't have a good relationship, and he's concerned about not having a witness. But he's going to follow your honor's orders, and we'll do those visits where it's him alone, and then he has his other visits. So we ask that your honor go ahead and order the overnights as we're requesting.
Your Honor, I would just like to say one thing
Sure.
about the communication with Father. It's been 5 months since I've heard from him. I haven't had any updates at all. I didn't know he had a new job. I didn't know he did the parenting classes. I don't know anything because he hasn't communicated with me. A half-hour phone call or even a 15-minute phone call, I don't think is too much to expect, especially when I have been complaining and requesting that we have that communication in the past. Since this case has been going on, I have done my best to work around his work schedule, done early morning or later in the day. I think we even did a weekend once. So those excuses don't make any sense to me, that he has to come home at 3:30 and take a shower and then he doesn't have time to call me. That's an hour and a half. You still have plenty of time to arrange a phone call. So, I recognize from what I hear in these hearings that Father is making some progress. But I don't have any information that is relayed directly to me from him that I can follow up on to give any recommendation to expand visits right now.
All right, thank you. So at the hearing on the Friday that we had, it was also clear to me that the father was progressing with Jalen, which I thought was good. And I raised the question of whether we could consider overnight visits. After hearing the arguments today, my decision is that we're not ready for overnight visits at this time. We are ready for expanded visitation if it can work out. But let me tell you some of the issues on the overnight visits. First of all, I did ask the father to be sensitive to the need for Jalen to nap, and that has not occurred, and that's a concern to me. That is a need to be sensitive to the needs of his daughter, and I was hoping that nudge would mean that at least for an hour, maybe hour and a half during their visits, that would occur. Apparently, that did not occur. I'm also concerned about the communication with Ms. Farr. It's been a long time. It's extremely important for me that the parties communicate with the guardian ad litem to help them form an opinion that will assist me. And it just, if there's no time during the day to communicate with Ms. Farr, that it just creates concerns for the court. I know Mr. Ludwig has to drive a long ways. I would like to begin on Saturday. Apparently his visitation is 11 to 5. I'd like to expand that so it starts earlier and ends around 6 for the purpose of allowing them to have dinner together before Jalen has to be returned. But what I don't know is how long transportation takes and whether sometime before 11 is realistic. Mr. Jaden Ludwig, do you have a sense of when you could start those visits?
Yeah, Your Honor, as soon as possible.
Well, okay, well, you have to drive a ways, don't you, to get?
It's probably about an hour, about 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on traffic,
All right, well, I'd like them to start somewhere between 9 and 10 and end on Saturday the 6th. And the expectation is that you and Jalen will have dinner together. You do not have to come up here alone, but I would like a 2-hour part of that visit to be just you and Jalen. And I could tell you what part of that, but I'm going to leave that to you. I think you can figure that out. Whoever comes with you can go do something else, go shopping while you and Jalen go to the park and spend a couple hours together, just you and her. I want to see that happen. On Sundays would be the same thing. That on the Sundays when you visit, that can expand from 9 to 6. Sounds like everyone is okay if you want to take Jalen to the zoo in Portland, and that would be appropriate also. Well, I'm not ordering overnights at this point. I think we do need to take some steps forward to give Mr. Ludwig more time with his daughter. And I think that's really what I heard in the declaration from Kai Ludwig. That's what I heard from Ms. Winkles. And that's what I hope this order does, is move us in a direction of more time. So that will be my decision. Visitation every Saturday, between 9 and 10 to 6. 2 of those hours will be alone. I think it's every other Sunday now when he comes. And 2 of those hours also have to be alone. And if Father's Day Sunday is not on that rotation, then it should be put in so that he can spend time with Jalen on Father's Day. Ms. Craig, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. I have already offered him Father's Day,
Okay.
just so you know, because that's his right now on Father's Day.
You bet.
His visits on Saturday start at 1. We're starting at 1 to 5.
Okay,
So I just wanted to make sure you were clear. And then my other thing is, can we, I know you said around 9 or 10, can we actually set an actual time?
No.
Mr. Ludwig is constantly late, and I do have other kids with other events in my life. And I just need to know a time where I need to be being able to meet him. Between 9 and 10 can be anywhere between 9 o'clock and not 10:50 something. And we run a busy house, and I am more than able to come meet him. I would just like an actual time where I'm supposed to meet him.
Mr. Agnosto, you were objecting.
I'm sorry, I apologize, Your Honor, but no, my client should be given leeway. He's coming some 90 plus miles, an hour and a half drive, traffic and various other things. He can't say he's going to be here at 10 o'clock. It might be 10:15, it might be 10:30, it might be 10:45. Or I mean 9 o'clock. You said 9 to 10, but somewhere in there, he will get here and see his daughter. Now they're the ones who are confiscated his daughter from him.
I'm going to object, Your Honor.
Well, Your Honor, I'm objecting to them requesting a specific time and this constant picking on him because he's 5 minutes late. He's coming 90 miles through Portland.
And Your Honor, I would just argue that he can leave earlier then. Leaving, if he needs to be somewhere at 9 and it may take 2.5 hours rather than 2, then to have him come on his own a little bit earlier to get there on time is reasonable, rather than having my client, who has other children in the house, including one with special needs, essentially stay around waiting for dad to show up. It doesn't make sense. We aim for a time when we have to commute, when we have to drive any distance, and we go early. That's what people do when they have a job. If his job started at 10 and he had to commute there, he wouldn't show up at 10:20 or 10:30. He would show up at 10. He would get there early. What we're asking for, if there needs to be a buffer, then that's fine. A buffer of 20 minutes, a buffer at most of 30, but a buffer of an hour is a lot to ask for somebody who's also taking care of a special needs child.
Mr. Jaden Ludwig, go ahead.
Your Honor, so if I get there early, can I get Jalen early?
Yes.
Yeah,
So if I show up at 8 o'clock, 8:50, before 9, 8:30, 8:35.
Jaden, all
We-
you need
we-
to do is call me. And I have always brought her to you whenever you've asked. You've been early. Just go ahead and call me. And
I just would like the court to say okay.
Just enough time, Your Honor, so that my client can get the child ready. If he's extremely early,
Mhm.
she needs to be given at least 20. It's having had a 3-year-old myself, they don't get dressed immediately. It takes time. You have to feed them, generally breakfast. So we'd ask that he contacts her if he's going to be early, 20 minutes ahead of time, so that they know to change her and to get her ready to go.
all right. I'm going to set the window when Mr. Ludwig would typically pick up Jalen to be between 9:30 and 10. I think it is a reasonable request that Mr. Kai Ludwig and Kelly Crave not have to be waiting around for a long time. On the other hand, I think there needs to be some flexibility. And if Jaden Ludwig is going to be earlier than 9:30, then give them a call at least an hour before while you're on the road and saying, it looks like I'm probably going to be there early.
Yeah, I normally do that.
And that will, from 10 to 1, that's a 3-hour period that we're expanding that visitation by 3 hours, which is what I'm trying to do at this point. Okay.
Your Honor, just to clarify things, he doesn't meet us at the house to retrieve Jalen.
Okay.
So am I supposed to be down there waiting for him at 9:30? To wait with a 3-year-old in my car from 9:30 to 10 to see when he's going to show up?
Sure. I hear that. In my mind, you were going to be at the house, doing whatever you do, and then he would show up and pick her up.
Is there a way? I think I could be able to go up there, pick her up at the house if that's easier.
That's fine with me.
You want to do that?
Yeah, I could.
Both parties are okay with that?
We're okay with that.
All right.
They've been getting along, so we hope that continues.
All
Yeah.
right, let's do that. And then that window won't be as onerous on Ms. Craig. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let's try that. Tomorrow, everybody's going to get a new trial date to finish the hearing. Hopefully that'll be fairly soon, and we'll see what happens.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and is
Thank you,
anybody
Your Honor.
else
Thank
here
you,
on
Your
that
Honor.
case?
They are not. They are not, Your Honor. It's just myself. I've been having issues getting them served because I've been sick the last 2 weeks. So
I have a crystal in the waiting room. Does that ring a bell on your case?
no, that's not part of my case, Your Honor.
Okay.
In this case, I've already gotten. I did a temporary guardianship last year with approval from the parents to be his temporary guardian, and then in the documents that I turned in, I also turned in, I believe, or at least I checked the box that said like the parents had already approved for me to be his guardian. He turns 18 on July 1st, and he's headed.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah, he's headed off to college in Missouri in August. So I've been helping him get all his college stuff squared away. I got him, because of me, he got a scholarship because I paid money for all the programs to help him get scholarships, and he's going to go play football in Missouri. So I can get his parents served hopefully this week. It's been difficult trying to coordinate everything with being sick.
Your paperwork indicated that they consented to
Yes, Your
you
Honor.
serving, and do you have written consents from them?
I had it in the temporary guardianship. I had turned in the form that stated that they consented to me being his guardian. I don't know if I had that same form in the permanent guardianship. But I can certainly, if I need to, I can certainly get written approval from them to give me guardianship since it's a few more months till he's 18. And then after that, I don't really think I can help him too much, but he's been with me since September of last year.
Okay. I'm pulling up the temporary guardianship.
Yeah, the temporary we kept having to extend because of this or that.
Okay.
And so, and then I think I forgot to come in or something, and something happened. So I turned in the permanent guardianship. Yeah, since living with me, he's been getting straight A's mostly at school. He's been doing school online, and he graduates this next month from Kelso High School.
So yeah, we were extending.
Right, we had extended the temporary, and then I think the temporary ended because it had been extended too long.
Well, we got up to January 19th.
Okay.
And I was on that hearing, and nobody showed up.
Okay,
So I struck it, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, that was probably my fault then, Your Honor. So I put in the permanent guardianship paperwork a few weeks ago, but since turning that paperwork in, I've been sick. I actually went to the doctor last week, and they told me I had an ear infection. I'm like, well, that's annoying.
I see the consents here. I'm pulling that up, but again, it's a little bit sluggish today.
Oh, no worries.
Give me a moment here.
I appreciate it. Yeah, since living with me, though, he's been doing really well. So he's been attending his online classes. He went to Kelso High School from September to the end of the football season. Then he switched over to online school, and he'll be leaving for college in August. So he's headed across the states to go to Missouri.
So, well, let me see if I did this before, what it was done before. You know, if a court visitor was ever appointed in this case?
Not in my case. In his previous case with his parents, there was a court visitor did visit his parents because his parents had issues where they were fighting over him and 50-50 and blah, blah, blah. That was in 2021. And then this in 2022, he moved in with me.
All right. So I'm going to appoint a court visitor to do a couple things, help you with service, make sure that gets done.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll be able to contact the parents and confirm that they still consent. The consent form probably will apply, but I think I need a court visitor to confirm that.
Okay.
And then just to talk to you to make sure that it's an appropriate place for your brother to be. So we do this on a rotating basis, and the next person on the schedule is Tina Day.
And they call the schedule when to visit, right? They don't just show up.
Yeah, she would talk to you.
Because I work remotely, but my office is also in Portland, so I want to make sure that I'm actually home,
Right.
Because Dustin's home all the time because he's, old enough to be home alone. But if I have to go to the office or whatever, I want to make sure I'm here for that visit.
Okay. Don't repeat your address, but the address on your petition and summons, that's the correct address, right?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I need to provide that to them.
Yeah, starting in 213.
All right, I'm going to do that appointment and then set a review date. So let's set a review date for June 13th, and then hopefully parents will be served and we'll be ready to move forward at that time.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Bartel, good to talk to you.
You have a good one, sir.